News out of Chicago. On Monday, the Bulls released guard Jaden Ivey for comments they deemed detrimental to the team after Ivey posted some anti-gay sentiments in a lengthy social media post. Ivey specifically took exception to the NBA's embrace of Pride Month, citing the league's, quote, unrighteousness, end quote. Ivey has been active on social media lately, vocalizing his religious views. Ivey's mother, Niele, is the head women's basketball coach at Notre Dame, right up the road at South Bend. Stephen A., what do you make of the Bulls' decision here to waive Jaden Ivey?
It's perfectly within their right to do so. I've only met Jaden Ivey once or twice. I liked him. I met him when he was drafted. His parents were there, obviously. It's one of those situations, I think, and this is why I wanted to tackle this subject, because I wanted to make a point that's very, very important. People have their different views. And on First Take especially, as long as I'm here, we're not going to sit up here and ostracize anybody. People are entitled to be conservative. They're entitled to be liberal. They're entitled to be, independent, whatever side of the aisle you lean towards, whatever your religious beliefs or what have you. That's fine. But what's needed in terms of the message that's being conveyed, what's needed to be brought across is that just as I said those individuals have that right, so do the Bulls organization or any organization. They have a right to be picky about who they want representing their brand and their product, as does the NBA. The NBA, the NFL, and various sports leagues pride themselves on being inclusionary. That's the fact. That's the way that it goes. And they don't want to come across as alienating anyone. And when you say things and do things that are antithetical to anything that they represent, then you're going to hear from the brand. And by the way, Jaden Ivey, listen to me, my brother. I work for ESPN, which is owned by Walt Disney. It doesn't mean that I have to parrot Walt Disney's speech or I have to march lockstep in every single thing that we believe as a company. But I do have to be careful about what I say and how I convey my thoughts, my opinions, my beliefs, etc., being mindful and cognizant of a brand that you represent. It applies not just to an employer. It applies not just to a company. It applies not just to a league. It applies to everybody. If Ryan Clark has the Pivot and I have my own show and whatever, and we have advertisers and sponsors, those advertisers and sponsors are going to veer away from us if it comes down to us replicating or disseminating a message that's the antithesis of everything they stand for and what they believe. And I think that Jaden Ivey, what he was doing on Instagram with a string of videos, he took into account what his personal beliefs are, okay? And that's to be respected by some, and it's not going to be respected by others. But where he really, really messed up is that clearly he was giving no thought to the Chicago Bulls as an organization, and dare I say the NBA. And as a result, now his NBA career may be in jeopardy. Why? Because you felt the need to go on Instagram to convey your personal thoughts for what? You just look at people sometimes and you want them to see, look at the big picture. Everybody's not going to vibe with you. Everybody's not going to agree with you, and that's fine. But be careful about disseminating messages, particularly when they're non-inclusionary, and it seems to alienate and ostracize a group of people, not measuring people by the content of their character, but instead labeling a group of people the way that he did. That's unfortunate. I'm not here to engage in condemnation. I don't want Jaden Ivey out of the league. I don't want him to ruin his career. I don't want anything like that for him. I swear I don't. And I'm hoping that he'll be back playing for somebody in the league. All I'm saying is that it's important that he sees, and everybody out there sees the big picture. You play in the NBA, you play in the NFL, you play in Major League Baseball. This notion that you get to be your own individual brand and you have no one to answer to and you have no one to take into consideration, that is a lie. That is not true. Don't let these people out here that ain't got any damn jobs, that don't have people to answer to, that's hoping to have a shred of the success that you have, don't let them influence you and get in the way of your business. You could do a lot of things and live your life and be very, very productive courtesy of playing in the NBA with the money that you have the potential to make. But there's a price that comes with that. And sometimes that means being quiet and not feeling compelled to let the world know where you stand on every single issue. He didn't need to do that. It was counterproductive. And the Bulls showed him that by letting him go. And I'm just hopeful that the NBA collectively doesn't follow suit and ostracize this guy. He's young. He made a mistake. I don't even know if he knows he made a mistake. But the point is, regardless of your beliefs or what have you, most people are going to say it's wrong. Some people are going to say it's right. In the end, be careful about what you disseminate because it lives forever and you're held accountable. And why? Because you wanted to vent for 15 minutes? Be smarter than that. There's a bigger picture to take into consideration. Yeah. And I don't think he did that here. And that's my issue.
The initial video is 42 minutes long, roughly around there. He's had some similar rants on social media in the last couple of weeks.
Up to going to all three services, and that third service was going to get you. There is freedom of speech, but freedom of speech does not necessarily mean freedom of consequence. I also will remind everybody, starting from the sports perspective, your talent will make room for you. If Jaden Ivey was averaging 20 points and 10 assists right now, 20 points and 10 boards right now, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. But because in January of 2025, he broke his left fibula, and then in October of 2025, he had arthroscopic knee surgery, and then again, he's missed the last 2 weeks he had missed, starting in February 21st after getting traded from the Detroit Pistons to the Chicago Bulls. As a result, averaging 11 points and 3 assists, his talent is not making room for him. Plus, if you're in the training room, we do not necessarily want to hear from you. We want to just see you recovering. So from a sports perspective, starting there, athletes, you know your talent makes room for you. If the talent starts to diminish, we do not want to hear you more than we see you. That's number one. Number two, I don't like the path that Jaden Ivey is going down. And the reason I say this is this. Number one, Jaden Ivey's been through a lot. If you hear what he's talked about, he was sexually molested as a child. He had a porn addiction while he was married. He's self-admitted that he was abusive towards his wife and his children. These are all Jaden Ivey's words, not my own. And so Jaden Ivey is also acknowledging like he's a struggling individual or an individual that has struggled. So let me acknowledge that, acknowledge the emotional and the interpersonal aspects as well. Anybody that's been to therapy understands things that happened to you as a child, they impact you as an adult. Now let me talk about the biblical aspect of it. Because Jaden Ivey also has to understand that not everything that's legal is going to be biblical. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. Also have to understand you have to be wise, discerning, and tactful as to how you speak and when you speak and who you speak to. Jaden Ivey, if you want to quote Paul in Corinthians, Paul wrote what he wrote to the church in Corinth. He didn't necessarily write what he wrote to the church in Ephesus or the church in Galatia. In the same manner, Jaden Ivey, you got to use discernment of when you speak and who you're speaking to. If your job and your goal is to emulate Jesus, also understand when Jesus saw the woman who had committed adultery, he said, go and sin no more. He didn't then try to extrapolate every single sin and every single man she has slept with adulterously. So I will just start by saying, one, understand there's a difference between legal and biblical. Two, Jaden Ivey, make sure you tend to your mental and emotional health if indeed there is anything going on because you have been very vulnerable about your struggles previously. And then three, render to Caesar what is Caesar's and render to God what's God's.